Hello, everyone, and welcome to Moving After Match Day 101. I'm Jeff Wrench, and I'm thrilled to be here hosting this class for you. As an M4, you are the future of medicine, and we completely understand the tight window of time that you have as an M4 from when you match until you want to move into your new home. Today, we're going to go quickly over some really important steps from experts across the country that are joining us today, and they'll be giving you some pro tips on how to have the most successful move possible immediately after you find out where you match. Emily Rose Reeder is here from California. Emily is a national renting and organizational consultant. She will be giving us some great tips and tools on everything involved in navigating renting and moving process and have the most organized and stress-free move possible right after match day. Emily is also expecting a baby here in 3 weeks. So we are so honored to have you here today, Emily. How are you feeling today?
I'm doing great, Jeff. Thank you so much.
So great that you're joining us. Can't wait to see this little person. Secondly, we have Josh Metal here live from Park City. Josh is actually wrote the book on physician home loans. And you talk about someone who is a specialist in his field. Josh, we're thrilled to have your words of wisdom here for our M4s today. Josh, how are you?
Super good, and grateful to be here. Grateful to have the opportunity to talk to the M4s and to share all the lessons that I've learned over the last 20 years of helping medical professionals finance homes.
Great, Josh. Thanks for being here. Last but not least, from Denver, Colorado, we have Ann Johnson, and Ann is a national Realtor review consultant. If you're thinking about possibly owning a home, Ann has some great advice and methods for finding really special superstar realtors to help you find that perfect place. Ann, thanks for being here. How are you today?
I'm just great, Jeff. Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to talk about my favorite subject today, realtors.
I'm going to get us started with what to expect on match day. And one of the most proud moments of a parent's or a loved one's life is match day. We're so proud of the work that you have done. We personally went through match day a few years ago, and this is a picture of our son Gage and my wife Mary at match day. And don't ask me why I'm not in the photo. I'm probably taking the photo, I would think. Anyway, it was absolutely one of the most proud moments of our lives as parents and a really beautiful thing to witness. My biggest hope for you is that you savor every single moment of match day. It truly is one of the huge milestones in life like no other. And there's so many people that are proud of you, your professors, everyone in student affairs and administration, of course, your family and friends. And so spend time and take a lot of pictures with your loved ones and enjoy this moment in time for the rest of your life. For match day, it was really a big deal for us. And this was pre-COVID. They had a really nice ceremony at the University of Nebraska Medical Center. And we all had a chance to get together with all of Gage's friends, M4s, their parents. And really at the moment of truth, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, everybody opened up their envelopes at exactly the same time. And it was really pure excitement and joy for the most part. Gage did not get his first pick, but he was really happy with where he matched, and it was celebration and high fives. And the two things that we noticed when we looked throughout the families is that most everybody was happy and celebrating and high-fiving, but there was definitely a small percentage of people who were really sad, and it was really hard to see that. And according to the National Resident Matching Program, that less than 50% of residents will get their first choice in residency. And it's common if you set expectations or get fixated on top picks that you don't set yourself up for disappointment. A lot of unexpected things can happen because nobody really knows how or has control over the algorithm of match. Expectations in life definitely are a source of anxiety and disappointment when they're not met. That there's really only two things in life that we truly control, and that is our attitude and our effort. And most common regret that we've heard from doctors over the years is the feeling bad about where they matched. Every doctor that we spoke to said that things ended up working out for the best in the long run where they matched, even though they didn't think it would. There were things that happened in that time that really proved it was a great spot to go to. Even if you match at the last program on your rank list, you'll still be an employed doctor next year. And that's an honor and a privilege. And unfortunately, not all medical students can say that or get that. We recommend creating a list of positives for each of the programs that you interviewed in and that you ranked. So, and have this list ready so that when match day comes and wherever program you match at, you're able to really look at the positives and have that attitude of positivity on where you match. The second thing that Mary and I witnessed at match day was after they opened their envelopes, a few of Gage's friends were on their phones already starting to look for places to live, even while the ceremony was underway. And it was really clear the urgency that they felt moving. We had an amazing time and celebrated with Gage's friends. And the next day, Gage approached me because my profession for the last 35 years is in corporate and family relocation. And he asked me if I would be willing to help a few of his classmates find people they could trust in the places that they matched around the country. So I was able to help, 8 or 9 of his friends get connected with people we knew and trusted around the country, specifically around medical centers where they matched. And they had really great moves. In 35 years of work, I've never felt more appreciated than from these young doctors who are starting their career. They've spent their lives studying. They don't really know real estate. They don't know who to trust. And so the thank you notes that they gave me is why this class came into existence, to try to take the stress out of it for you. And these tools that we made are all free for you.
I want to echo your sentiments about just what an achievement and accomplishment it is graduating med school. And you really are the future of medicine. And it's especially pertinent today, your achievements in light of everything that we're going through and just the dedication that you have to the health and well-being of our country and our world is phenomenal. So thank you so much. Today, I'm going to be talking about 3 things. Number 1 is the rental search. Number 2 is securing that rental. And number 3 is savvy moving organization tips. All these things I'm really passionate about and I've personally done myself. Before I jump over to sharing with you some of the resources and tools that are available, I want to ask you a question. And the question is, what's your standard in both your living location and your space? So location is the accessibility and your commute, and then also considering your space, which is your interior, personal style, those sorts of preferences. And we'll talk about those just a little bit more later on. So let's jump on over to the tool that I want to share with you called your top interview cities. And this is the beginning of narrowing down your search. Okay, so your top interview cities. So you can see that this tool is really useful to basically be inputting your top ranked cities. So you can see that it's populated with some cities here already, and you can go ahead and remove any that you would like and then, repopulate with your city that you do want to put in here. It's a great compare and contrast section. I want to highlight 2 things for you. Number 1 is there's some great overview information here of each city. So you can, start there. But most importantly is these rental links. Another great thing I want to talk about in your rental search is that many of our realtors, and depending on where you match, are willing to have an insightful chat with you about the area that you may potentially be going. And that's important because number 1, they could potentially point you in the right direction. Some other things they could do for you is basically connect you with maybe an affiliated rental office. Also, many of our clients are renting while they are looking to own a home. And so they're wanting to start a relationship with a realtor now. Some realtors are willing to direct you to landlords that are looking for great tenants like yourself. And finally, some will take a commission directly from a landlord if you do end up, securing that rental, or sometimes in the bigger cities, they'll charge broker's fees. I'm not a big fan of the broker's fees, but if that's something that you really want because you just need a lot of help in finding your rental, then you can proceed down that route. So that is a thing. So 2 other important things in securing your rental I want to mention. Number 1 is call your GME office. Not only might they have some references for you themselves, but also they're going to connect you likely with current or outbound residents who are going to have that insight that you wouldn't otherwise find on the internet. So do take advantage of that opportunity. And finally, visit and tour the space in person. And if you can't, really find someone you can trust who can tour that space and FaceTime, really have an understanding of not only what the space is like, but the surrounding area and what your commute, and really having, done a practice commute and understood that, while Google Maps says it's 10 minutes, it's actually 20 because for the next year there's construction, or there's a construction site next door and at 6:30 they're going to be, revving up their engines. And so just really having a lay of the land physically is critical to the success of securing your rental. Great. So now I'm going to walk you through another great resource that we have available to you called Your Stress-Free Move. We've populated both articles and direct resources. So the first off is just like common rental pitfalls, things you want to take into consideration, like never wire money or pay cash. If there's no advertised, photos with advertised space, don't waste your time. Make sure that upon renting, you've tested all your keys. And also upon, renting and signing a lease, your move-in date, and in writing, you've said, we're ready to move in at this time at 9 a.m. And just making sure that the contingencies or the consequences for which if the property is not ready when you're moving in. It's happened to me twice. Carpet installers and wet paint has been going on while we're trying to move in, and it's costly to you at the end of the day because you literally can't move in until those people finish. Another great piece here is a little section on just your landlord. And while your landlord is vetting you, you're also vetting your landlord and really making sure that that's going to be a good and healthy relationship. Here's a little section on things to consider when signing your lease. Probably one of the most important things, factoring in costs, making sure that you can afford it. So for example, the cost rule of thumb is your monthly income is about 3 times the monthly rent. Make sure you don't forget utilities, and landlords will have some ballpark ideas on utilities for you. And also security deposit. So you put your security deposit down, and then how is it utilized upon moving out? And so often there's just standard like monies that will come out of your security deposit: paint, carpet cleaning, things that you just can't avoid, and just know them up front so you're not surprised at the end that, it's an expense that you're going to have to pay. And it sometimes usually depends on the duration of your lease. The final section I want to point out to you, which I'm really passionate about, that I think is a super stress reducer, is the physical act of moving your things. And it can be largely overwhelming to be picking up your entire life and then also taking all your precious belongings and then just moving across country, as an example. So we have 2 really great resources here that we've put together specifically for that reason. So I'm going to populate this link here for you. And you can see we have a really great like step-by-step moving process. And if you can take these little tips into account, I promise you're going to have a much better, more seamless and organized experience. I want to point out 2 things. One is decluttering. Start a month early, because you're going to have days where you don't feel like doing it, and that month you'll be glad that you started early. And also another fun tip is packing. So pack yourself as if you're moving, or if you're going to go on vacation for about 10 days. And that way you're cool with the rest of your life being packed up around you. And in that packing, there's a couple things I mentioned about just having some kitchen essentials and bathroom essentials and things as well. The final thing that I want to point out is MD Relo's Day of DIY Moving Essentials list. And what this is this is specific things that you want to have in a corner at your house when the movers come, when you're moving, your family members, whoever's moving you, and people can grab them and pack up things, and it just makes it superstar stellar. So for example, basics, scissors, Sharpies. We used brown lunch bags. It was surprisingly amazing. I was putting in like vases and things into these lunch bags, and then I could write what it was. And it was like, I don't know, it was really great. I loved it. Just have a little bit of extra cushion around things while you're putting them in containers. And then my favorite was we utilized sustainable storage containers instead of cardboard boxes. Our previous move, we spent hours putting together these cardboard boxes. They were super expensive. The tape was coming apart. They attract bugs, just a whole list of things that I'm not a fan of with cardboard boxes. This go around, we just, went to town and bought them. And honestly, for price and cost effectiveness, it'll probably pay itself off the next move that we have, if not right away. So we really liked this. I really would recommend this tip for moving, and just everything stacked so nice and neat. I hope all of these resources are really useful to you and just offer you a more seamless and organized and efficient move. And at the end of the day, it is overwhelming, but just take it a step at a time. And I promise you that these resources here will really help you from start to finish of, if you're going down the renting route, finding it, securing it, going about taking your things and just packing it all up and starting a new chapter, a new journey. So congratulations. It's super exciting and it is an adventure. So I wish you all the best.
Should I rent or own? So really, it really depends on where you match is a key. If you're in Manhattan or LA, you're probably not going to buy your first home. If you're in a community where homes are reasonable, it's maybe a good idea to buy a home, especially if you're there for 4 years. So understanding your current finances is really the best place to start.
Jeff, thanks so much. And team, welcome. Excited to share with you today. And as Jeff alluded, MD Relo has sponsored this event by providing a free copy of my ebook. So the book is titled Why Physician Home Loans Fail: How to Avoid the Landmines for a Flawless Home Loan Purchase. And what I'm going to try to do in literally about 10 minutes is try to give you the cliff notes, the most important messages and threads you're going to want to pull out of that book. However, I would encourage you to download the ebook. There are 2 to 3 chapters that are specifically meant for the transitioning incoming residents, someone transitioning from medical school into their residency. And there's some very, very common landmines. If you take literally 10, 15 minutes, read those couple of chapters, you're going to be more educated than 99.999% of home buyers out there. So I encourage you to do that. And again, thanks to MD Relo for sponsoring the free book for you all to download. So team, here's the deal. Resident physicians have the highest mortgage decline rate of any type of client on the face of the earth. Why is that? Well, if you put yourself in the position of an underwriter for a moment that's looking at an application from an incoming resident, just imagine what you're going to see. Your income for the last couple of years hasn't been that great, right? Your GPA's been good, income and tax returns not so hot. You most likely have a negative net worth. What does that mean? Well, that means that your debts exceed your assets because, of course, all of your assets are on this beautiful brain of yours right now, but very little in paper. And of course, most residents that we serve don't want to start their residency, start working like crazy, and then move into a house. Of course, they want to move into the house, get settled, have a little bit of tranquility and relaxation before they start their grueling residency program. So we have no job yet, no history of income, a negative net worth. And many residents we serve are relocating their family across the country to a strange location. What could go wrong, right? So I wrote this book because there was this young man and his family who, and I'll never forget this story. I never get tired of telling it because it re-inspires me every time. But he's relocating across the country to the University of Utah. And literally, he was probably in Nebraska, Jeff. That's probably where he was driving through when he called me. And he said, hey, listen, I just got this call from my loan officer and I'm supposed to close on my home tomorrow. I'm driving across country in the U-Haul with my wife and 2 kids and a dog. And they just told me my loan was declined. What should I do? You see, that loan officer didn't have the experience, hadn't worked with enough residents and physicians in general to calculate the student loans correctly. And when the loan made its way to the underwriter at the 11th hour, the underwriter is the gatekeeper who says whether you're going to get those keys or not going to get those keys. That underwriter didn't make the same mistake that the loan officer did. So after 2 months of going after this house, all of their money tied up in earnest money, inspections, appraisals, they were now being told that they didn't qualify for that loan program. Well, the happy news is we were able to shift gears for him. We got him and his family in that home about 2 weeks later. But that's just one of many, many experiences that have motivated us to want to get you as much information as possible so that regardless of who you choose to use to do with your loan, you'll know the right questions to ask. The number one thing that you should know is that all physician home loans do not have the same underwriting guidelines. They're not the same. It's not like there's one physician home loan and you're just, calling around comparing rates. They're all very different. Some will look at student loans in one way, some will look at employment contracts another way. And so it's important for you to realize that you need to have a really great communication cycle with the lender that you're going to get a loan from. There's several lenders, and go through each of these points about your particular situation, because no two people are the same. Everybody has a little bit different situation, and more than just comparing an interest rate, we want to make sure that you're comparing your unique situation to the underwriting guidelines of the loan that you decide to go with, so that we can help you avoid those landmines, obviously. So you want to know, how much money do you need for down payment? How much money is your underwriter going to require for reserves, post-closing liquidity, and where can that money come from? Can it be a gift? Does it need to be sitting in my account for any specific amount of time? That's another really big landmine that far too many loan officers don't dig into until the loan's made its way to the underwriter. And at that point, it's too late. You've already set your expectations, your family, your kids are ready to move into that home. We can't fail at that point. We have to make sure we've done our due diligence. And the last one that I want to make you aware of is, of course, student loans. When we think about student loans, the main challenge is, how do we calculate the payment? Now, as you're coming out of medical school, in most instances, you're going to have a grace period where you're not going to have to make any payments. In most instances, I have found that clients are unable to get an estimated payment on what those student loans are going to be, because they're not in an amortization period. They're not in a repayment period. They're in what I call no man's land, where we really can't get any information about those student loans. In which case, most underwriters will require you to qualify as if you're making a 1% payment based on the full student loan balance. So let's just assume you have $250,000 in student loans. 1% is going to be $2,500 a month. And if we were to calculate $2,500 a month in payment against your residency salary, you're going to qualify for a really nice Cracker Jack box, but not much more. So those student loans, if the underwriter and that loan program don't have a way to exclude them from your debt to income ratio, or utilize an income-based repayment amount, because that can potentially be zero or very, very low. But if they can't qualify you based on income-based repayment or zero repayment because of deferral, you're very likely not going to qualify for a mortgage loan. And that is exactly the mistake that the loan officer that I told the story about, the young family who got declined at the 11th hour, that was the mistake the loan officer made. They saw the student loan balance, saw zero payment, and thought they were home free. When it got to the underwriter, they said, no, we have to calculate a payment, and that caused the debt to income ratio to go too high. All right, how do I know which loan is the best option? Well, that would be two things. Number one, we want to have the loan first and foremost that you're not going to get surprised at the last minute and find out you don't qualify for. So that's the first litmus test we want to make sure we do our due diligence on. The second thing that I would say is, of course, you're going to want to compare different loans based on rates and interest rates. That goes without saying. So you're going to want to work with somebody who can give you a really good illustration of what that loan's going to look like the day of closing, so that you can compare and contrast them. And the last thing I want to mention is about the pre-approval process. You know, these mobile devices, they're so darn handy, and you can do just about anything on them nowadays. The problem is when you do a pre-approval through only a mobile device, and they're just checking your credit and a little bit of information for pre-approval, they're not digging deep enough into those student loans. They're not digging deep enough into where does the money come from for the down payment? Has it been sitting there long enough? Is there reserves, post-closing liquidity? What does your offer letter look like? Is there employment contingencies? So a precursory easy button style pre-approval is suicide mission for an incoming resident. You want to work with someone who's experienced, number one, and then you want to provide them with all of the information they're going to need in order to say that you have their blessing and they're going to be able to get your loan done. So for us, we have an underwriter on the front end of our process. At that point, you're virtually assured that your transaction is going to go off and you're going to get in the home. Again, I hope you'll download the book. Just go to the index, search for the couple of chapters that have to do with incoming residents. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Jeff, Emily, Ann, thanks so much for having me. It was a pleasure sharing with you today.
For any M4 who is potentially thinking about possibly buying a home, depending on where they're moving to, would you recommend that they talk to a lender in advance of even match day so that they know where they sit?
Yeah, and you know what? I failed to mention earlier that I should have put this out there, that this environment right now is so incredibly challenging to buy a house because of the low inventory levels. And all that means is that because of the low inventory levels, we need to be more prepared than ever before. So absolutely, you want to have gone through that pre-approval process. The other thing that is vital at this moment is that you're very careful in who you choose to represent you in the real estate transaction. And I think this might be more overlooked than any other part of the real estate transaction. But when you have a very shortage of housing supply, what matters most in that market is your realtor's reputation. And the reason I stress that to you is that the realtors is a very tight-knit group in these communities. The great realtors know the great realtors. And when a realtor who's listing a home and representing a seller has 12 offers, Jeff, this weekend, I had a client put an offer on a house. They had 92 offers. I am not lying. Cross my heart, hope to die, 92 offers on the home.
Unreal.
The number one litmus test that listing agent took, it was, which of these agents do I know? Because if I accept the wrong offer and this deal doesn't go through, my seller's gonna kill me. They're gonna crucify me. So your realtor's reputation in this market, which is low inventory and hyper competitive, you better be working with an ace, because they're going to know the listing agent, and that's your best chance of securing a home right now, along with having gone through a very, very thorough pre-approval process so that you can close quickly.
The realtor that you select is absolutely the most important decision you'll make in the home buying decision. Realtors are licensed and they're obligated to work in your best interest. They will negotiate a better price for you. They will help you save time through the process of looking for a home. They have coming soon homes that aren't even on the market yet. A great realtor is your shield. They're not transactionally oriented. When you get on Zillow and some of these other sites, you don't know who the realtor is. A great realtor understands complex transactions. Most realtors will come to the inspection for you and be able to negotiate in your best interest on items that maybe aren't right in the inspection. They really can also become your best friend in your new city because you're going to a new area. It's great to have somebody who's connected in the neighborhoods where you want to live, and that can introduce you to a lot of different people, whether it be a veterinarian, a hairstylist, a great restaurant. In a real estate transaction, the seller pays their agent, the agent who has the sign in the yard, pays them a commission when the house sells and closes. And that listing agent splits their fee with your agent. The best realtors that you'll find out there, you can't find them on Zillow. And we really have to dig in deep and find those realtors that will protect your best interest and talk you out of buying a house because it's not right for you.
It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to talk to you today. I'll be discussing strategies on how to find a great realtor, whether you decide to find one on your own or if you come to us to connect you with one. I've been fortunate to develop strong relationships with hundreds of realtors and have done extensive research on thousands of realtors across the country. When I start my research, I have a general rule of thumb. I'm essentially vetting a realtor that I would trust with my children, that I would use myself. My daughter and son-in-law went through match day 4 years ago, and we've experienced the trepidation of moving to an unfamiliar city, as Jeff has. We are all super sensitive and supportive of the needs of M4s. In beginning my research, I focus on locating realtors that have established history of sales and listings near the medical facility that my client is moving or going to be working at. Do their sales reflect the type, the price, and the amenities my clients are looking for? Who are the leading agents? I'm looking for the strongest real estate offices. With each of the strongest agents, I do take the time to look at their reviews and recommendations. It's very useful information for me. And as Jeff mentioned earlier, some of the best realtors do not have a large online presence. Their stellar reputations and word of mouth is really their best advertisement. For this reason, I call specific real estate agencies to talk with the managing broker. I explain my client's unique needs and situation, and that we're looking for that special realtor, a rock star, someone that will really work well with medical professionals and really knows the community. Each client has different needs and interests, such as the school systems, nightlife, outdoor activities, places of worship. I will reach out to the medical facilities in some of the cities to see if they have realtor recommendations. It just depends on the school. Some do and some don't. I use additional filters to narrow the field. I do a little Facebook and LinkedIn stalking just to see how they connect with the community. Every step gives me more insight so that I'm confident I'm connecting my clients with an experienced, caring professional, one who will take the time to educate our clients so that they are really equipped to make informed decisions, which really ensures a successful experience. Finally, in deciding on a specific realtor, I have a quick phone conversation with my favorite choices. I explain my client specific situation and needs. For example, I might discuss the resident's desired commute and proximity to work. Also, their availability to support our clients on match day and beyond is absolutely essential to me. I talk with each realtor about the need for speed because of the shorter time frame between graduation and them needing to be settled in their home before they start their residency. If the individual is the right realtor, believe me, they'll do all of the talking because they want the client. This process may take a few days to establish contact and to firm up a commitment, especially in the larger cities and with busier real estate agents. So if you are doing this on your own, I just ask you to walk through this patiently in your research and follow the steps that I'm giving you today. Just ensure that you have confidence that who you're working with is something that's really going to work hard for you. Your top interview cities. This is a great tool we encourage M4s to utilize to input their 4 top ranked cities. We work proactively to make sure that we have vetted realtors for any new city that's added here. And once M4s open their envelopes on match day, it's game on. We encourage our clients to be proactive, and when they're ready, finish filling out their profiles. They're going to want to fill out where you're moving and the moving questionnaire. In the where are you moving, they're just going to add your city that you're moving to and complete the residential preference. And you'll see here you have 3 choices. And in the moving questionnaire, this just gives our client the opportunity to add additional information that they might want to give us, including who they're moving with, housing parameters, and most importantly to us is the new work address. We definitely want to have that to be able to connect you with the correct realtor. I want to personally congratulate you on your accomplishments. Your commitment to service in the field of medicine is so appreciated. Enjoy Match Week. It's a blast.
Okay, everyone, I'm speaking for all of us, the group here, when I say how incredibly grateful we are for the vocation you've chosen in the medical profession. We are here, and you can reach us through the free website at movingaftermatchday.com or click on the link below. There will never, ever be a cost to anything that we ever do. We hope you have the absolute best match day ever.